Hey everyone, and welcome back to part 3 of the conversation that we've been having here on the Shelter Hole, where we seek shelter. If you want exclusive content for Forerunner Productions and some amazing articles that are very much in the vein of what you're hearing on this episode, you'll be sure to head over to forerunnerproductions.locals.com. It's our place where we get to have a community where we talk about all the amazing things that we care about, talk about the amazing stories that we're having, and it's a place where you get to show off your creativity or add to the conversation and let us know the things that you want to see and hear, and talk about the things that are on your heart that are happening in the culture. Telling the best stories that are ever told is how we recapture the soul of society, and we're doing that on this episode. Welcome back.
Mike Glover, Fieldcraft Survival, American Contingency, is probably the reason why. Well, he's part of the big reason. Him and Dave Rutherford and Marcus Luttrell Morgan, Mike Ritland. Those are the guys. Sean Ryan, Vigilance Elite. Those are the guys that really inspired me to start doing podcasts. I was doing the lawn care thing. I mean, there's only, how many times can you show somebody you mowing your grass? You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's guys that do it every day, and they're really good at it, and they're very, very creative, and I love it. But
not what you want.
Mike Glover said, man, if you've got a platform, use it.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? And this was right about the time that I was really starting to turn my life back around.
Yeah.
So
I can remember talking about turning your life back around. There have been so many times where I've come home and I've talked to you and Mom about faith, and when we would sit down to pray, I would be the one praying and everything.
Yeah, I didn't even want to pray, dude.
And I would ask you to pray, and you would be like, "No, man, you go ahead." And you were a good sport about it, but you were obviously not invested in it. And the day that we were sitting down at the table, and you took off your hat and you started praying, I about wanted to. I was over the moon. I've had that feeling in your chest where it feels like helium is being blown into you, and you think you're going to end up in
I know
outer
that
space.
feeling. I've been feeling that feeling here lately. So.
Well, you're filled with helium.
No, man. I mean, I just feel it's just the Chase. I'm sorry. I know I'm blowing this mic up, man. I'm sorry. Andre Denot.
So, you keep saying his name. It's so weird.
Random. Sometimes in life, you have to go through the desert to appreciate the watering hole.
Yeah.
And, I was there for 12 years. Now, we didn't pastor for 12 years, but 12 years. I call it chasing the ministry.
Mm-hmm.
That was my problem. I was chasing something that was right in front of me. And I believe, and everything happens for a reason. God used me and your mom, even though that I probably did what I wasn't supposed to do by going back to West Virginia. And out of that, God brought Doug, to where he's at today.
I mean, I can't wait to get Doug on this podcast. That's going to be
That's going to be a good one.
That's going to be crazy.
It's like talking to Mountain Man a little bit. I love him to death, man. I love him to death. He talks faster than Mountain Man does, but he's got that Mountain Man accent. I love him. He's awesome. And so, I guess what I, through all this and the reading, is that when the Declaration of Independence was written, the things that our forefathers talked about were about making sure it's all about the people. Mm-hmm. Even John Adams' wife, Abigail, would write about how it has to be about the people. There's a poet, I'll have to show it to you when we go inside, that he quotes. in there. And I read it to your mom. I thought it was awesome. I wish I had the book out here. I'd read it to you. But it's all about the people. It's not about government. Everything that happened was so that the people could be free. And I mean, and you and I and Mom talked about this earlier, is that slavery, is it abolition? Is that the right word of slavery?
Yeah, the abolishment, abolition, the abolition
of slavery. It wasn't started when the Revolutionary War started.
Right. That was going on.
That was going on way before it, and I didn't realize that, how far back that actually went.
Well, slaves, even of themselves, were not a new thing, and the morality of slavery was a question, especially during the period of Enlightenment, but it was a question that dated back even to Rome. And the burning of the Library of Alexandria is one of the most tragic events in history because we lost so much. We lost so much knowledge, so much history, like all of the questions that we have about Atlantis and Rome, about ancient Greece, Homer, all of these things, what the world was like, potentially even like theories like about Pangea and what type of scientific things were used to build the pyramids and stuff like that. All of this was believed to have been contained, and more, and so much more, was believed to have been contained in the Library of Alexandria, and we lost it because some idiot decided they wanted to burn it to the ground.
Well, it's like Casey and I was talking. So everybody knows Casey's a black man. Mm-hmm. The man's super. We were talking, and I told him, I said, Casey, I said, I believe that protests can be done correctly. And I said, I'm going to tell you one man that did it the right way. Mm-hmm. And I said, that was Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
He did it the right way. And I told him, I said, Casey, if he was here today, I would march with him.
Yeah, Mahatma Gandhi was another one that did it the right way.
I would march with him. But now the violence thing, no, I'm not going to support any form of violence. I'm just not going to do it.
I wanted so badly at the beginning of the summer, whenever the protests started happening, even after I saw
I know you did.
Minneapolis get burned to the ground, I wanted so badly to back this thing because my two best friends, and even now my two best friends, so three of my closest friends throughout my entire life, through high school and everything, four of my best friends actually, Daryl Brown, Kes McKinney, Brandon Long, and Mark Suits, all four of them are black guys. I wanted so badly to be able to stand beside them and say, you know what, whatever is left, whatever issues that we have about slavery, about Jim Crow, about segregation, about racism, whatever is left, let's squash it. Let's march together. Let's do it now. Let's squash it. Let's remove it. Let's get it out. But we have people in power now that will never let a good thing go to waste for a bad purpose. And they took something that could have been amazing, that could have made real progress if they would have had someone.
And they ruined it.
If they would have had someone to lead this thing that actually knew the direction that it needed to be taken, that actually had the ability to restrain themselves away from radical.
George Soros isn't the right guy?
George Soros is I'm going to get to that. If you had someone like King to step up and lead this thing from the front, that had the restraint to keep the movement focused on what it needed to be focused on, I think that you would have actually seen something beneficial happen over the summer, and not a bunch of people burning cities to the ground and people getting shot and rioting and looting for no apparent reason.
I can tell you why. There's one reason. Dr. King loved Jesus.
Yep.
The people who are doing it now don't know him. He fought. He did it peacefully. He did it the godly way.
Yep.
He did it the way God would want him to do it.
So many people forget.
By loving people and doing it calmly. Now,
so many people forget that he was a reverend first. He wasn't just Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was Reverend.
Yep.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. His letter from a Birmingham jail is addressed to my fellow clergymen.
Yep.
It was a movement that started, the civil rights movement is a movement that started in black churches.
Here's how ignorant people are. So, all the Robertson family pretty much goes to Whites Ferry Road Church.
Okay.
In West Monroe. I guess Phil and Kay felt it to go plant a church across the river. 99% black. So everywhere Phil goes, he pretty much has a bodyguard. He has to have, I guess. I mean, he is older. Phil's, I forget, he's close to 80 years old now. Late 70s, early 80s. So he does have a bodyguard go with him. Jace has one. He has a former Navy SEAL that goes with him. I don't know if Alan does or not, or Willie, but I do know that Jace has a SEAL that goes with him, former Navy SEAL. So Phil was going into church one day, and there's this guy on the sides on the street screaming at Phil, "You racist, bigot, whatever." Phil said, "Go over and invite that guy to come in." So the guy went over and he said, "Hey," he said, "Phil wanted to invite you to come in and hear his message. You're out here hollering at him. Do you know anything about him?" He said, "I know he's a bigot, this, that, and the other. He's a racist." And the guy looked at him pretty much and said, "You do. You've been standing here. You have been watching who's been walking in that church, right?" He said, 99% of the people in there are black, dude. How is he a racist? And the guy just shut up, and I guess he walked away or whatever. And that's kind of paraphrasing the story.
Right.
But I just say that to say how ignorant people are. Whenever I was in the Navy, 99.9% of my friends were black or Filipino. That's just the way it was.
It's kind of funny how that seems to be a trend in my life too. Like whenever I was growing up, for whatever reason, most of the white kids hated me, and the only people that accepted me were black kids because I didn't fit into a stereotype. And the black kids didn't care what stereotype I was. They didn't care what type of books I was reading. They didn't care what type of TV shows I liked. They didn't care the fact that I was walking around with my nose in a book during the school day, and then I would throw on a helmet, and I'd be the first guy to put my face in somebody's chest on the football field. They didn't care that I was a contradiction of everything that everybody had known to come and love, right? Like, and it plays into why I so badly wanted to support that movement. My mentor Moyad is black guy. I got another mentor named Fernando. I think he has some type of Hispanic heritage. But like it's always for some reason I always end up being drawn to and learning from and relating to people that aren't my same skin tone. And it doesn't matter to me. And people will tell me that I'm a racist nowadays because I don't see color. And I don't understand how that makes any sense at all, considering the fact that I want to learn from these people. I want them to mentor me. I want them to bring me into this thing. And I am one of the whitest dudes.
Pasty.
Cracker. Like they need, if there was ever a town that got to be named after me, it would need to be named like Cracker Jack Box or something like that. Like I am that white. And yet I always end up finding myself being mentored and talking to and spending time with people that aren't my same skin tone, and it has zero relevance to me because the things that they have to share and the things that I want to learn are beyond skin deep. Racism, I'm a firm believer of this, and I think that we're gonna sort of wrap things up on this one, unless you got something else that you want to say.
We're getting close. I'm about ready to go. I'm about ready to wrap it up, tie it all back together.
Racism is a problem of the heart.
Exactly. All this is.
It's a chest thing. Dependency is a problem of the heart. Your faith, your belief is a problem of the heart. But only individuals who are willing to look into themselves can identify the problems of the heart. They can be inspired to do so by the people that are around them, but they will not ever make a change unless they are willing to identify it and recognize it and accept it themselves and work on it themselves.
Here's why I love Unashamed. Guess who they had on there the other day?
Who?
Adam Carolla. He's an atheist.
Adam Carolla is hilarious.
He's an atheist.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But guess who's he's best friends with and shot that movie? I forget what the name of
Dennis
it was.
Prager.
Dennis Prager.
Yeah.
And he talks about this. He said,
no safe spaces. Yeah.
He said Dennis is a very
Orthodox Jew. He's written his own. Very
dedicated.
Yeah. He's written his own concordance, or not concordances, his own, like, I forget what they're called, but they're like full analyses and theological analyses of the Torah.
So, and I feeling it, and Adam even said, he said, I'm a conservative.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, I'm no different today than I was 40 years ago.
Mm.
He said, I've always been for less government. I forget what all he went through. A lot of things we all stand for. He said, I've never come to know Christ. He said, I'm an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
And
just doesn't believe.
But he said that doesn't mean we can't have civil conversation. We can't be friends.
Right. Absolutely true.
And Phil shared that he knows. I mean, they shared Jesus while he was on the podcast. I thought it was awesome. But I say that to say this. This thing that we've got, that everybody's getting their feelings hurt or they're offended over everything, they got to get over it. They got to put on their big boy pants and forget it, and forget this stuff. And we've got to have a conversation.
You have to. I think that part comes back to not only to a different part of the heart. I still think it comes back to the heart, but in this particular case, the issue of the heart isn't dependency. Particularly, it's a issue of confidence, and maybe that does wrap back around to dependency, because you end up being dependent on others for confidence rather than having confidence in self-ownership and individuality of yourself, and being able to stand for something on your own. And when that is challenged, having the confidence to be able to argue your point, or to even say, you know what? I don't know how to argue that point. I don't really know how to even analyze the type of information that you're giving me, but I still stand for what I stand for.
Again, as Christians, rather than argue doctrine or differences, in today's time, we better be finding where we agree. And that's if we agree that on Jesus, that Jesus is the way, yep, the truth, and the life. That's our ticket to making it better, because we're not preaching hate. Because the Bible speaks against homosexuality, that doesn't mean I hate those people.
I absolutely adore some of the gay people that I've met in my life. They are amazing friends to me. One of the guys, I have learned so much from a gay guy named Spencer Clavin, that I finally been able to start interacting with and things like that through Locals, which is where you can find all of our information as well. But and he's an ardent Christian. Right? He is an ardent Christian. He studies the Bible, and everything that I've learned about from him is extremely doctrinally proven. And the thing where he falls on the gay spectrum, on the idea of gay spectrum, is that he believes that your sexuality, what you're attracted to, is born into you, and so that's just something that he's going to have to deal with whenever he goes to meet God. But everything else that I've ever heard this man talk about is sound. A lot of the conversation that we've been able to have about the Gracchian period and Julius Caesar, I've learned either because of Spencer or because of someone that I learned of through Spencer. And he is doing amazing things through his podcast, Young Heretics, and giving everyone the classical education that they've been denied, because the education institution is a broken hellscape run by the radical left. And you can appreciate someone, you can love someone, and disagree with where they're at, and think that some of the things that they're wrapped up in is sinful.
That's why we were talking about earlier in the first episode was, you may not like them.
Yeah,
you may hate their. God hates our sin, but He loves us.
Right.
And so, it's not for me to judge, it's for me to love.
Mm.
I'm not going to preach at somebody. I believe if you love them and you live your life in front of them, you'll be more effective than anything that you ever say. But
a word to our listeners if you ever find yourself in a conversation where you want to convince someone of something, learn how not to talk at them. Rather, learn how to ask them the right question and let them discover it themselves.
That's like Phil and Jason. They'll say, 3 questions for you.
Yeah.
How'd you get here? What are you doing while you're here? And how are you leaving?
Yeah.
That's the 3 they ask.
Yeah, and I think that's...
It's all about Jesus. And that's why I'm gonna keep going back to. It does, but so to wrap all this up, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is that I really believe that our government today has forgotten over the last 150 years. It's about what it is.
250 years of this country, so about the last 150 years, yeah.
So I believe we've forgotten what we were founded on and why. We've lost our vision.
And it comes back to an idea of rights too, right? Like we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. It is endowed by our Creator. And the other thing, and Ben Shapiro likes to argue that the other side of rights is duties, right? You have a duty not to infringe on someone else's rights in the same way that you are given by your Creator rights.
The only reason, I'm convinced that the only reason that no one has ever invaded this country, or that the government hasn't tried to come after certain people, is because we're all armed. And I think that just like Pharaoh was scared to death of the Israelites because of their numbers. When you look that there was close to 80 million people that voted for Donald Trump, I think it scares them, because the Democratic Party has been so accustomed to keeping people under their thumb through government subsidies, welfare, Medicare. It's
what Candace Owens and Larry Elder call being on the Democrat plantation. And it ain't a race thing. It's a dependency thing.
We call it getting the mailbox payday in West Virginia. So, that's like Dad's neighbor that he lived next to on Wheatley Branch. Had 2 big satellite dishes. This has been a long time ago. This is back when the satellite dish looked like a huge satellite dish that's trying to get something off the rover from Mars or something. Right. He had 2 of those, a 4-wheeler, a couple coon dogs, 4-wheel drive truck, nice car. Didn't hit a lick of nothing. He was on welfare. And Dad said, "Why do I work?" But now here's the funny thing. I got to tell you a story.
We keep saying we're going to wrap this thing up, but it ain't never going to happen.
I got to tell this, though. Even though Dad would say that, Dad loved, the guy's name was Delbert. I don't know if he's still alive or not. So there was a telephone pole, right? There was a picket fence, or not a picket fence, but I don't know. There was like a fence went between Delbert and Dad's house. And there was a telephone pole where the cable was that the cable guy had to go up. It was right between his trailer and Dad's house. Well, Mama and Michelle and all of them had gotten religion. Papa hadn't made the transition yet. He was still drinking a beer, too. He's still working in the coal mine. So they decided to turn their cable off. So the cable guy comes and starts climbing up the pole. Delver said, "Hey, buddy, what you doing up that pole there?" He said, "What you fixing to do up there?" He said, "I'm going to turn their cable off." He said, "Oh, no, you ain't." He said, "You turn that cable off." He said, "I'll shoot you." And he was dead serious. So the cable guy come down, and Dad and them had free cable forever, because Delbert threatened to kill the cable guy if he turned Dad's cable off. Anyway,
there is no, I keep trying to think about a way to get a moral out of that story. There is no moral. There is no
I'm just telling you.
Ladies and gentlemen, do not threaten to shoot your cable guy, please.
Listen, let me tell you something. We're talking about not just a West Virginia hillbilly. We're talking about a holler, up the holler, West Virginia hillbilly, deep up the holler in Logan County. So
Southern coal fields.
So anyway, Phil says he's a C plus man. I'm a D plus man. So
I don't even know what that means.
It means
You talking about battery sizes or
he
something?
said he was a C plus man in school.
Oh,
In college, he'd go. He bribed his way through some of his classes by bringing them fish. And then he said it got me a C plus. He said I was a C plus man. So anyway, tying all this back up. I just want people to know who watch my podcast that there's no hate. There's only love. We believe, or I believe, that the only way we're ever going to accomplish anything of substance in this world is if we get focused back on Christ. And in order to do that, you have to get your heart right.
no.
It's not going to happen overnight. I mean, you asking Christ in does, but that transformation is a work in progress.
Yeah.
And you have to surround yourself with the right people. You have to stay, dug into your Bible and find the right literature.
I had a couple of
TV
roommates.
programs.
I had a couple of roommates recently. I just moved in with a guy that I go to church with. But I had a couple of roommates when I was first moving out of the dormitories for the military. And in that time period, I learned how imperative it was to surround yourself, not just in a community on the weekends at church, but daily with the people, especially with the people that you live, with people that share your values.
Yep,
I found myself, and I think that I was able to witness to these two guys that I was living with, but I am not, as awesome as that opportunity was, it was hard. It was really hard, and there were times where I definitely was not as close to God as I should have been because of I was surrounded by people that didn't share my values and sort of devalued the things that I believed in. And so I think that it's imperative that you surround yourself not just with the community of godly people, but even with people that you live with that share some element of
you have
of
to.
your values.
It's imperative, and I mean I understand more now why. Where the Scripture says, in your marriage not to be unequally yoked, and there are old timers that want to say that has something to do with skin color. It has nothing to do with skin color. That is spiritually.
Yep.
Don't be unequal, because it is. I tell you what, my heart. I mean, to women like Miss K, my heart goes out to them. I mean, man, you talking about somebody that has a special place in heaven?
Warriors.
Oh my God.
Absolute warriors.
Absolutely. And her grandmother, she didn't walk out on field because of her grandmother.
Oh.
Your mom, we've had some issues over the years.
I remember there was one time where she said, where you were getting ready to leave out the door to go somewhere, and Mom said, "You walk out that door,
You ain't coming back.
Me and the boys won't be here when you get back."
So, and then there's been one other time, and she told me, she said, I didn't do this to give up. And so I'm going to tell you something, man. She's a saint. How in the world that woman ever puts up with me? That's why I'm telling you, she has to love me with everything in her. But I'm telling you right now, there's times she definitely did not like me and was verging on not loving me. I guarantee you that. That was going into that.
Oh, don't say that. Oh, no.
So here's what I'll tell you, folks. Please pray for our government. Pray for our leaders. Pray for your local government. Here in Charlotte, I mean, we're run by a Democratic government here in Charlotte and Mecklenburg County, and it's becoming more and more Democrat. And I'm going to tell you right now, I vote not Democrat or Republican. I vote my beliefs in the Scripture and how I believe God would want me to vote.
I call that moral conservatism.
Whether that be Democrat, Republican, Independent, I don't care.
Whatever your morality tells you to vote as, that's what you vote as. That moral conservatism.
People say, well, what are you, Democrat or Republican? I'm Christian.
I'm a moral conservative, is what I tell them.
So
I let my morality is based on my Christianity, and I let my political decisions come from what I discern as my morality.
And pray that God would show you. Pray that God would show you the direction for your life.
Yeah.
And when you read the Bible,
Absolutely.
before you read, if you have trouble understanding it, just say a quick prayer before you open it up and just say, God, I'm having trouble here. Man, please give me discernment. Give me understanding when I read your word. And if you don't understand it, don't get discouraged and stop. Keep going. It will come. It will work. It'll help you. And the other thing is, surround yourself with godly people. There's nothing like a support group, and it will help you. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you've got foul language or drinking problems or drug problems, you got to get yourself away from it. Phil said one of the best things he ever done was went down on the river, become a river rat. And there was a couple of times he got hooked up with his old buddies, and things didn't go. He slipped a little bit, but he didn't stop.
Right.
And there's still times I make mistakes today. But you know what? As soon as I make them, I say, Lord, man, I'm sorry. We got to work on this.
Yep.
I'm still work in progress here.
Yep.
Love your kids. Be patient with them. And don't be afraid to discipline them. I mean, do it in a godly way. I mean, listen. Spare the rod, spoil the child, the way I look at it. And they'll thank you for you later. I mean, thank you for it later.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful for our forefathers. Thankful for men like
I'm really
Joseph.
interested to see what happens with the rest of that book and how you dive more into that time period. I'm looking forward to having more conversations about that.
You'll just have to come back.
I will. We got a couple projects in the works through the publishing house about.
What's going on with Forerunner, real quick?
We've got a couple projects in the works. We have a couple new books that we're working on trying to get published. My book is still in the works of trying to get published. We're running a couple hiccups with that, but that'll be coming out fairly soon. I promised that it would happen in February. Obviously, we missed that deadline, so I apologize to anybody that was looking forward to that. We have some things that are directly related to our founding fathers and Independence Day that we're trying to crank out real good, and I think that's going to be a good time.
You went to Liberty and interviewed somebody. Who was it you interviewed?
So this will actually come out after that episode has dropped, but that we went out and interviewed a guy named Charles Billingsley. He's like 30 plus years in the music industry. He's like 24 different songs to his name that he's recorded, 7 of which have been on like Christian inspirational radio charts, like #1 Christian inspirational radio charts. It's a great thing. Rather than it being a still shot like this, it's the first video that we've actually got some dynamic footage going on with it, which we're going to start doing more of for Impetus and more of for different things. And we got some other things in the works too, man. I don't want to give too much away until we're ready to start bringing it out. But there is so much from the perspective of film and television that we're trying to get rolling. We have some more projects that we're trying to get together with that band Defying Death that we interviewed at one time. I have a very close relationship with their guitarist and with a couple of guys in their band, so we're trying to do more with them and help them out as much as we can. And the biggest thing that we've done recently is we've migrated our entire viewer base, everything from free viewership to paid supporters, over to a platform called Locals. And that is forerunnerproductions.locals.com, or if you go to locals.com, you can search us, just type in Forerunner Productions. You can't miss us. It'll be the logo of the lion with Forerunner Productions around it. Super stoked that we're still so excited about having that logo change. That is so cool. It's been a long time coming. The FP has done us a great help up until now, but it's time that we start actually putting some real money into helping people recognize who we are and what we stand for. So that is super cool. Make sure that whether you want to get free content or you want to support us for as little as $2, right now we have no plans right now of ever increasing that. You pay us what it is that you think we are worth, but it is really just for as little as $2 a month, you can help rebuild the cultural institutions from the ground up. And I think that is a great way that you can go and support this idea of not becoming dependent on what Hollywood is making, not being dependent on what books are being published, not being dependent on the music industry, and you can invest in something that and directly influence that. You're no longer dependent. You are investing in something to help make the things that you want to be made. So we're going to be really putting a lot of time and influence into locals.com. And the cool part about Locals is that you're not restricted to just our page. Our content creators have their own page. The Shelter Hole is eventually going to have its own page. So if you want to support the Shelter Hole, go support the Shelter Hole. If you want to support the Chad Garrett Show, you'll be able to support the Chad Garrett Show. If you want to support Bergen and Her Words Written, you'll be able to do that. If you want to support Lillian Merritt and Strength of Atlantis, you'll be able to do that. So we're creating this network of independent creators and independent sites, and then we'll have that central Forerunner Productions hub for everyone to be able to interact with. And there are so many other people on there. Dave Rubin is on there. Tulsi Gabbard, the Democratic representative from Hawaii, who is one of the few Democrats that I really, really love. Then you have Spencer Clavin with Young Heretics is on there. Fieldcraft Survival is on there. So make sure that you go check out Locals. It is a true free speech platform that allows you to interact a lot like Facebook, but actually support the things and the creators that you care about. Again, our page is forerunnerproductions.locals.com. If you just want to go to locals.com and create an account, you can find all of your favorite content creators over there. Help us build that community so large that big tech can't shut us down. That is what we're looking for. Parler got squashed because big tech owns everything.
Parler's back though, baby.
I haven't heard about that. We'll have to talk about that offline.
They're back.
So, but help us become so big that they can't stop us. That is what we need to do. They are so large that they can make anything happen, and they have corrupted the whole system, and we have to fight back. We have to fight back. So that's what's going on with Daily Wire. We're fighting, or with not Daily Wire.
We've been here too long.
Freudian slip there, because I am a huge Daily Wire fan, as you can tell by my Leftist Tears Tumblr, my anniversary of my support for them. So definitely go support them too. They just released a new movie called Run, Hide, Fight that I think that everyone needs to see. I really wanted to plug that. Run, Hide, Fight is absolutely phenomenal. But also support Forerunner Productions over at locals.com because we want to start getting into the culture fight more than just podcasts. We want to get into the culture fight by actually telling the stories that you guys want to hear.
Real quick, Phil was going live today, so I just put a quick comment on there that said hello from Charlotte, North Carolina, and there was a guy saying, now there's an interesting name or something, or title. The Shelter Hole, just so people know, is I got that from where in the coal mines, in case of an emergency, you have a place you go for shelter. And there's an actual sign that says Shelter Hole, and I've had one here forever. And I just kind of thinking about a name for my podcast. It used to be Big John's Lawn, and then it was just Big John G or something other. So I said, I'm not going to do that. I want to have something else, but I don't want it to be. I want it to be something unique. So whenever I saw the Shelter Hole, I kind of run it by you and Mom and a few others. Everybody's like, man, that's pretty unique. It's pretty good. So
I've never heard anything quite like it, right? Like I'm copycatting off of all the people that have like their own self-titled show, like the Chad Garrett Show, right?
And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to have something different. Phil and them's got Unashamed, and my thing is, where do you find shelter?
Yep.
That's where do you seek shelter? And to me, I said the Word of God. Your mom, family,
community, and the Word of God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the three main places that you can find shelter could be narrowed down to family, community, and the Word of God.
Now, here's what I want to do. I know that Marcus Luttrell has a place where veterans go. Mm-hmm. That if they can go there if they've lost limbs or whatever, if they've suffered from war or from the theater of war, PTSD or whatever. So a lot of the people who support him, Navy Federal is actually supporting him now. They sponsor him.
Really? Yeah. That's cool.
Mom saw that, and she's like, wow. That's where we do most of our banking. So that was really good to know that they're supporting something like that. Then you've got guys like Mike Ritland, and all of his support goes towards warrior dogs that are being retired so that they don't get euthanized, trying to find them homes. And then he also trains those dogs. And he has recently opened up the Mike Ritland Company store. It's awesome. These are veterans that are doing this. And then you've got Dave Rutherford that he does, supports a few things. But I've got on a shirt today. It's 9 Line. Got it in this week, and your mom really likes it. 9 Line has, their founder has a place in Missouri or Nebraska. I forget where it's at. I apologize to the listeners. But anyway, he brings vets out that to help them and to support them. And I think that's awesome. And that's what I really want to do. That's why I try to, not that we're sponsored by any of these people, but their cause is so great. And that's where I want to go with this, as I hope that someday that it would grow to the point to where, you know, we could do something like that for our veterans, or even if it's for the homeless, do something locally for, you know, people around here, you know, local veterans or whatever. It doesn't have to be anything nationally. So,
man, nothing's off the table.
But anyway,
nothing's off the table with that. But in order to make any of that happen, we need support of supporters. We like,
and we'll get there.
And so anyone that's listening to this, anyone that's hearing this, you see the vision. We just shared it with you. We have all sorts of great stories and stuff.
Like and subscribe.
Share it everywhere. Grassroots marketing is how we're getting the word out about all this stuff. You have to share this content. You have to get the word out. You have to go support us on locals. You can support us for free and be a member, or you can support us and actually become a supporter. You can become a forerunner and join the culture revolution. We need your help. We absolutely need your help. Our dreams are too big to do this alone. Help us.
So, Shelter Hole, you can find me on YouTube as well.
And there's a link to your page on the Forerunner Productions page as well.
So, anyway, guys, thank you so much for putting up with us. We knew this was going to go long. It's been about an hour and a half total, or almost an hour and 45 minutes. And I love it. I'm hoping to have Doug on. That's going to be soon. You're going to try to meet us in West Virginia for that. That's going to be different about what we do. A lot of these guys, they have people come to their studios where they can afford to pay them or whatever they do.
We pride ourselves. We pride ourselves in our ability to travel.
We come to you. And so then I've got a pastor that I didn't graduate with, but I went to high school with. That's in Huntington, West Virginia, that I'm hoping to get on. I don't want to mention any names or jinx anything right now. I don't
see what happens.
Jinx. I'm not that type of person. God's in control.
Look, man, I ain't superstitious. I'm just a little stitious.
I'm neither one. God's in control. If he wants him to be on, he'll say, yeah, I'll come on. Man. So,
but we'll see what happens.
And then I just pray that God bring the right people to us. So
and for everyone out there, man, like, I am so, like, when we started this thing with you and with the technology, getting the mic set up, making sure that the video is getting good and everything like that, like, it's a journey. And already I've seen your ability as hosting this thing come so far. And I am, like, very seldom does a son get to pour into their father in the way that the father poured into the son in his early life. And so I wanted to thank you. I might have already done this on the show before, but I want to thank you again for having me on and to come and do this.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
But B, just giving me the opportunity to feed back into you with skills that I have learned and passions that I have in a way that you're passionate for.
Oh, you're teaching me like lighting today. I learned about lighting today.
Yeah, it was, and so all of this stuff and just seeing how far you've come, but also like your ambition as to where you want to go and what you want to do with this thing, and seeing where we're at in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and just watching the whole shebang get bigger and actually becoming a force in the culture is going to be so cool. So thanks for that, man.
Hey, look, Shelter Hole Nation, Chad Garrett Show Nation, we thank you, man.
All the forerunners out there.
We love you in the name of Jesus. Be good. We gone.